Okay. Good evening. Let's call the City Commission meeting to order, and let's call it to order again, and let's have a roll call.
Mayor Weinberg,
Here.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks,
Present.
Commissioner Bloom,
Here.
Commissioner Friedland,
Here.
Commissioner Joel,
Here.
Commissioner Cruz,
Here.
Commissioner Stern,
Here.
Mr. Wasson,
Here.
and Mr. Myers.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, those that can, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any deletions or additions, Mr. Manager?
No, Mayor, not at this time.
Okay. Moving on to number 4. It's not really on the agenda, but I wanted to, I think it's important to note for this commission that we had one of those storms of the century that should probably be renamed like storms of the decade and maybe storms every few years. But believe it or not, we actually fared much better than other cities that were hit as hard as we were. We got, at minimum, 12 inches of rain in one day. It was probably a lot more, but that's the minimum amount that they calculated. And in June, which is when the storm hit, we averaged 9 inches for the entire month. So it was, I guess, one of the meteorologists, I think Channel 10, said we got an entire summer's worth of rain in 48 hours. Obviously, when you're living at a few feet above sea level, there's no system in the world that can handle that without flooding. But if you were out there, like several of us were, when the rain actually stopped, 45 minutes later, I would say 80% of our streets and roads were passable. And very quickly, all of our streets were passable. You saw, if you watched the news, localized flooding. Where the news in other cities was, I took note of this, they were standing in the middle of the street. When the news located to do their stories in our city, they were standing on private property that we don't have control over, us as a government. But all those millions of dollars in infrastructure improvements have paid off, and we're not done. We keep going, and we've budgeted for next year actually to physically raise 191st Street, which is our number one biggest problem in terms of streets. So we continue to work on it. But the important thing is that when something like that happens, then you see who steps up. And really, it was pretty remarkable that the administration really stepped up to the plate. And I want to give credit where credit is due. It really was all of our department heads and their staffs just went to work. Didn't ask questions, didn't say, is this my job? Is this my job? Whose responsibility? Just everybody went to work. I want to publicly thank City Manager Ron Wasson. I want to publicly thank Deputy City Manager Brian Pegues, Public Works Director Jake Ozyman, Police Chief Michael Bentalila, Communications Director Evan Ross, Finance Director Melissa Cruz, Community Development Director Kevin Klopp, our clerk, Elisa Horvath, our attorney, Robert Myers, our IT Director, Carlos Fernandez, and I know that Kimberly is not here, but Community Services and our Director, Kimberly Merchant, and her team were particularly spectacular. I remember as a kid at my summer camp, my sleepaway camp, we had a hurricane and we had to evacuate the camp and sleep in the gymnasium at the JCC. It might have been the greatest night of my life. And I know these kids had a great time, but it was great because they were having fun and they weren't scared. Kimberly Merchant's people, including Maria Leyva, and the team that's here. And I don't want to leave out the YMCA, which helps to administer our summer program. Bill Nunez, I think was your team. Fantastic, fantastic. Hopefully it won't be repeated, and hopefully we can replenish the snacks that they went through. But to a person, every mom that you speak to said, I'm sure the dads too, but I prefer to speak to the moms, and they said, my kid had a great time, or thank you for keeping my child safe and comfortable. And it really, really, really is a tribute. It's not something we practiced, right? It's not something that was quote unquote part of your job, but everybody stepped up. So having said all that and apologizing for anyone I left out, I do want to suggest to this commission that we empower the manager to do whatever it is that's necessary from a paperwork standpoint to offer our employees, our city employees, an additional day off to make up for all the extra hours they put in as a result of this storm. Does any commissioner have an objection or a comment? I'd love to hear from you. On Zoom? Okay. Shake your heads like we do at workshops. Oh, Commissioner Stern?
I just agree with everything you said. I think that's a really, really nice gesture, and it definitely sends a very powerful message that we support them. And the comments that you said were definitely deserved, and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, I don't know, Mr. Attorney, Mr. City Attorney, do we need to vote on this, or by acclamation, what can we do?
No, I think, the manager has that authority. You're directing the manager to do it, and I think you can just, by consensus, direct them to do it.
I believe we have unanimous consent, and
Thank
we
you,
are
Mayor.
directing the manager to do so, and everyone, please enjoy your day off. I hope it's a dry one.
Okay, thank you.
I do have, in addition to the people that are employed by the city, there were volunteers who stepped up. Volunteers, when I say volunteers, I mean just residents that wanted to help. There's one that I'm going to honor tonight. It's very ironic that I'm honoring her because she went on to Facebook, and I'll repeat this when she gets here. She went on to Aventura Moms, the group on Facebook, and said, I have a big pickup truck. Anybody stranded, text me at this number and I will come and get you. And she went out and she rescued 19 people that were stranded. She's going to be here. Ironically, her truck broke down tonight. This is a true story. You cannot make this up. So when she's here via Uber, and her sidekick, her son, will honor her with a certificate. So that should happen soon. Okay, let's move on to, for now, to the consent agenda. Anyone want to remove an item? Let me know. Seeing none, I need a motion to approve. Commissioner Cruz, seconded by, Vice Mayor Cruz? Who's the vice mayor now? Oh, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor. Sorry. Vice Mayor Marks. It was seconded by Commissioner Bloom. The motion was made by Commissioner Cruz. Let's vote.
Commissioner Joel,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on, I believe we are item 7, ordinances. Okay, hold on. You all heard what I just said, now I'm going to repeat it. Because I see we have a guest that arrived. So, once again, I'm repeating myself, but it's important. When residents step up. It's part of what makes us the city of excellence. So you all have stories of people that couldn't get home, or campers that couldn't get home, of people that their cars were where Target is, or they were at the gas station, wherever they could park. And this woman, who's a resident of Aventura, she went on Aventura Moms on Facebook and said, I have a big pickup truck, and if you are stranded, please text me at this number, and I will get you home. She's got a truck like our city manager has, one of those big Dodge Rams. And she rescued 19 people along with her son, Elias. And to me, that's just very, very cool. That's why I'm going to present her with a certificate. I want to tell you that this is no, how do you say it? Shrinking violet? Is that right? This is a world champion boxer living in Aventura. I believe the only, she will correct me if I get it wrong, in history, the only Jewish female world champion boxer in the history of the sport. So with that, I want to give a round of applause to Carolina Dewar and Elias, her son. Come on up here, please. Come on up here, please. Hello, Elias. Hello, Carolina. Do you want to say anything? Either one of you are welcome to say anything. Yes. Three-time world champion. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. Talk into that microphone.
And my name is Elias.
Elias. I'm sorry to get it wrong. Elias. Congratulations. Thank you for the great work that you did with your mom in rescuing people. You have a wonderful mom. So, do you want to say anything, Carolina?
First, I was nervous, but then I was like convincing my mom to save somebody, and I convinced her to let him sleep in our house because I trusted him a lot, and he let me play with a gun, but it's not a real one. It's like an electricity one where you just do click and then it goes beep, 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 and it takes all the bad energy out of you.
Wow, very cool. You might want to speak to our police chief also. Thank you. Caroline, do you want to say anything?
Thank you very much for this recognition. I'm very honored. Yeah, and it was something good. I mean, we enjoy doing that because we have a truck, and we saw there were so many people stuck that couldn't get back home. So I asked Elias, can you help me rescuing these people? And he said, yeah, sure. So we were driving, all over, and we got home at 3 or 4 a.m. that day, remember? And there was a guy that was also stuck that he went with us, and then we gave him dinner and everything. That's the
With the electric gun.
What's a mayor?
It's a very long story. I'll tell you another time. It's a very long story. But I want to read this certificate, and then I want both of you to come up here. We're going to take a few pictures, okay? Certificate of Special Recognition to Carolina Dewar and, say your name?
Elias.
Elias, in recognition of your heroic actions and dedication to the safety and welfare of stranded residents during the recent rainfall and flash flooding event, the City Commission of the City of Aventura applauds your proactive response in going above and beyond. Presented this second day of July, 2024.
Thank you.
Come on up with the commission. Come on up here, both of you, and we'll take a picture.
Big smiles on 3. 1, 2, 3. Stay like that. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thanks, guys.
Hard to move. Hard to move on the carpet.
Okay. Well, that was more fun than the next thing. Now we've got ordinances, first reading. Item 7, I'll ask the clerk to read, Madam Clerk, to read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Chapter 36, Retirement, Article 2, Police Pension Plan and Trust Fund by amending Section 36-37, Time of Hire, providing for repeal, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion to approve, please? Commissioner Cruz, and seconded by Commissioner Bloom. They're the quickest on the button tonight. You guys should possible Jeopardy tryout. Mr. Manager, you're going to review this?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. This item came up recently, and it goes back for many, many years, dealing with police officers who were hired almost over 20 years ago. When the city decided to create a pension fund or a pension for the police department, about 15 officers were excluded for some reason. Over the ensuing years, this topic came up from time to time, and depending on how it was reviewed, really nothing happened. In 2018, there was an amendment to the code that allowed for some relief, but really it was very hard for all the officers to take part in it. So recently it came up, and we sat down with the union, the PBA union, and the police officers, and a deal was worked out that basically takes them back to the time into 2003 when the pension was formed, and is going to give them the ability to have credit for the years that they served that they didn't get credit back then when it was formed. So the agreement was worked out between us and the union. In the consent agenda, there was actually an MOU, a memorandum of understanding that memorialized this, and now we're codifying it so the officers can take advantage of it. And hopefully this will be the last time we have to deal with this matter.
Great. Any questions from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Cruz.
So I just want to thank, on the pension board, you're on the pension board, correct?
Yes.
Billy, former, but the pension board and our city manager, this has been a kind of a thorny issue that's been going on for some time, and as is the case in our city of Aventura, was handled in an excellent way, and we want to thank our city manager, assistant city manager, and the whole team that really went a long way to make sure that this issue got resolved in a favorable way, in a way that Aventura always does, and hopefully this will be, we won't have to go through this again, but because it is really important to our city that we support our men and women in blue and do everything even above and beyond to make sure that they feel welcome and they feel the embrace of our commission and our city. So thank you all for doing that.
If no other commission comments, I will open it up for public comment. Seeing none, if there is any, stand up. Seeing none, I'll close for public comment, and we'll take a vote.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Stern?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Joel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to second reading, I'll ask Madam Clerk to read the ordinance for item 8A.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Section 14-100, securing of construction sites, other requirements of Chapter 14, amending Section 31-143, residential zoning districts, Section 31-191, sign regulations generally, and Section 31-221, landscaping requirements of Chapter 31, amending Section 38-48, office hours, collection hours of Chapter 38, amending Section 45-38, use of rights-of-way of Chapter 45 to clarify and update certain terms, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve, Vice Mayor Marks, seconded by Commissioner Bloom. Kevin, do you want to review this one? Community Development Director.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission. Kevin Klopp, Community Development Director. Yes, this is a second reading of an ordinance that was heard both at the local planning agency and at the last City Commission meeting. It's our annual cleanup of the code. These are minor things that were noticed in the code that either didn't make sense or were incorrect or Scrivener's errors. I'm happy to go through them individually if you like. The staff report is in your packets that explains them in detail.
Unless any commissioner requests, we don't have to go through them. Okay, any commission comment? Seeing none, any public comment? Come forward or you will lose your opportunity. You have lost your opportunity. Let's vote.
Commissioner Stern?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Joel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on, Madam Clerk, to 8B.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Chapter 31, Land Development Regulations of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Section 31-191F, prohibited signs, allowing for billboards in a limited capacity in the city, subject to City Commission approval, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Motion approved, Commissioner Joel, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. In the past, the billboards that you see around Aventura are ones that were here originally or grandfathered in when the code was changed to prohibit billboards into the future. We've asked that the code to be changed to allow on certain and limited capacity, that if the staff could support it and with the permission of the commission, a billboard could be erected in the town.
Okay, any comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none. Comments or commissions from the public? Seeing none, I'll close and we'll vote.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Joel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Stern?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
8C, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances of Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Finance, Division 3, Purchasing, by increasing the city manager's purchasing authority from $50,000 to $100,000, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and an effective date.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Joel, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. It's basically what it says, the authority for purchasing will go from $50,000 to $100,000. Anything over $100,000 will have to be advertised and legally bid. Anything under $100,000 would have to have quotes and get submissions from any vendor that we wish to do business with. But it would not need commission approval to do that.
Okay, we obviously have already agreed to that in the past. Looks like we'll probably agree to it now. Are there any questions? No from the commission? Any members of the public have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, I'll close it and we'll vote.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Joel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Stern?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weinberg?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to, I see there are no resolutions. Let's move to reports. I know that Commissioner Cruz has a report. Do you want to give it to us now?
Sure. So just got back from Israel yesterday. Went with my wife, with Marion, and it was, I got to say, it was very, very special. As everybody knows, we proudly, last month, signed a sister city agreement with our sister city of Modi'in, which is in the middle of Israel, right between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And very proud of our commission, our city management, and all the residents, because everybody was so in favor of this. And it's really incredible to me because Israel is getting so much pushback and so much hate from all over the world, and yet Israel is really fighting for not only its freedom and its right to exist, but for the freedom of all people, that all democracies and freedom-loving people around the world. They're the front line. But I'll talk first about the meeting I had at Modi'in. Marion and I went to Modi'in, where we met with the mayor, Chaim Bibas, who's a tremendous visionary leader. We went to their control room where they have set up a very high-tech control room, which they would like to share with us here in Aventura, and I think it would be a phenomenal idea, talking about how this city was built up. It was a planned city from the beginning, but they already have plans as to how it's going to look in 10, 20 years from now, and even beyond, with hospitals and schools and ALFs for their senior citizens. There's a train that stops there that connects Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Very, very special. So Mayor Bibas is looking forward to continuing the relationship, as is Ron and their whole staff. They were very gracious and very appreciative of our new relationship, and I'm sure it'll be one that will continue to grow and strengthen, and I think it'll be one that'll be mutually beneficial for many years to come in so many different aspects. We can learn so much from each other. And as I said in the last commission meeting, when we had Mayor Bibas here, it's really, we're doing this, and also the ambulance, the Magen David Adom ambulance that we donated to them hasn't quite got there yet, but I really hope this is a moment for other municipalities and cities to look at and say, we'd like to do that too, because it's the right thing to do, and I'm very proud that our city did it. While we were in Modi'in, we also met with a mother and sister of a fallen soldier, 20 years old, who fell the very beginning of the war in Gaza. His name happens to be Amit, like our wonderful commissioner. His name was Amit Most. Incredible young man, like most of the people there. As many of you may not know, but everybody in Israel, they're all they all have to serve in either the military or do or do national service. These brave young people are really exemplary. We went to a lot of hospitals, we went to a lot of rehab facilities. And what's impressive is their incredible resilience, their determination, and their courage, and their desire to do, to help their country, to help their fellow citizens, and to be a light unto the nations. They really do an incredible job. And what's amazing is even the soldiers that have been injured, the first thing they tell you that they want to do is to go back to the front line. Even if they've been injured, they can't wait to go back with their brothers and sisters to defend their land. And I think there's a lesson to be had here in America with the young people, not necessarily to have to go in the army, but to say, appreciate what you have, the blessings, and that freedom is not free. So it was really a wonderful experience to be there. The mayor and the staff thanked us for doing the Sister City Agreement, and they also look forward to working with us. And I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak a little bit about it.
Thank you, and thank you for going, and thank you for visiting our new sister city. And just for the record, please give me the total amount of, when you add everything up, how much did that trip cost the Aventura taxpayers?
Let me think about it. A big bagel.
Zero. And thank you for going on your dime, but that's how we roll. Thank you so much. Any other reports? Okay, then moving on. Any public comment? Would anyone like to speak on a topic that is of interest to you? Is that a yes in the back? Okay, sure, come on up, and I'm going to ask the city attorney before you start to review the purpose and the rules.
Sure. Public comment is reserved for items that were not covered in the agenda so far. You have 3 minutes. It's to make a presentation or comments, not a dialogue or back and forth with the commission on the items.
And before you start, I just want to say for the record that we're going to hear and we're going to be thanking you for your efforts in our city, and that I invited you to speak, and that the 3-minute clock is not running. I think you're going to take, if you want, up to like 5 minutes, but you are doing wonderful work here, and I will now be quiet and listen to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. 3 minutes is more than enough. Good evening, Mayor Weinberg. Thank you for the invitation, members of the commission in this beautiful city. My name is Debbie Koch. I'm the executive director of the American Red Cross for Greater Miami and the Keys. Mayor, I appreciate your remarks earlier about the storm that passed, and you're right, these do happen more and more often. Fort Lauderdale had a similar experience just last year, so being ready, being prepared, congratulations to you and your city for that. I'd like to give a very quick update on the Red Cross initiatives over the last few weeks, and one community in Aventura that was impacted a little bit worse than the rest. As many of you know, the American Red Cross shelters, feeds, and provides comfort to victims of disasters, supplies 40% of the nation's blood supply, teaches skills that save lives like CPR, first aid, and swimming, and supports veterans, family members of military members. You may not know, the most common disaster we do respond to are home fires, over 60,000 a year across the United States. And of course, we are a nonprofit organization reliant on the gift of time from volunteers and the gift of funds from the American public. As you all are acutely aware, the week of June 10th, our community experienced many days of torrential rains and dangerous flooding as a result of a very slow-moving, low-pressure system that produced, in some areas, over 20 inches of rainfall. The worst of that flooding was recorded in the areas between Hallandale and North Miami, which puts us squarely in the center of that area. Given the severity of the situation, Governor DeSantis declared a state of emergency in several counties, including Miami-Dade and Broward. As soon as the Red Cross saw the forecast, we put volunteer teams on standby, knowing that shelters would very likely need to be opened. And indeed, on June 13th, we opened 2 shelters, one in Fort Lauderdale, one in Pembroke Pines, and on June 14th, one in North Miami. While those in Broward fortunately were able to close quickly, the North Miami shelter we held open for 9 days because the clients there were so many people displaced. By June 22nd, we were able to find stable housing solutions for all of those clients. And in total, we provided a total of 56 overnight stays. But during that same time, Red Cross volunteers were out in the impacted communities, bringing hope through food, water, and relief supplies. We distributed over 3,000 relief kits, including cleanup kits with bleach, brooms, garbage bags, and hygiene kits for people who lost their homes or lost their belongings. Almost done. Throughout the flooded neighborhoods.
Please ignore that.
Okay. Throughout the flooded neighborhoods, Red Cross teams performed 887 damage assessments to determine eligibility for financial assistance. Of those 887, 232 homes were designated as either destroyed or sustaining major damage. And here's where it gets local. Of those 232 homes that were designated destroyed or majorly damaged, 141 of those were in Biscayne Lake Gardens condominiums on 203rd. All first floor units, it's a very tight-knit, low-rise community with a lake in the center. So it's not a surprise the water came up. When we arrived, they had 7 or 8 giant construction dumpsters full of people's belongings that were destroyed in this incident. This is a community where the residents told us they had lost everything and did not know what to do next. The Red Cross, already activated for this disaster, worked with their property managers to set up a relief center in their club room for 4 days last week. We were available to their residents for whatever their needs were. We opened 108 cases, providing those families who qualified, which was all of those 108, with immediate financial assistance, casework, and access to disaster health services, meaning volunteer nurses, and disaster mental health to talk about the trauma they might be feeling. Each of those families has been assigned a caseworker, and we will be working with them, connecting them to community resources to make sure they can get back on their feet, which could include additional financial assistance, replacement of any lost medicines, eyeglasses, durable medical equipment, and as I mentioned, connections to other nonprofits who can help them with their recovery. We will remain focused on providing help to these families. We know it's harder. Disasters disproportionately affect at-risk communities, but the Red Cross stands ready and will be here for the duration. Lastly, I will be remiss if I did not ask and urge everyone on this esteemed commission and all of your constituents to be hurricane ready. Please, given the high storm activity we're already seeing, Hurricane Beryl heading due west and a potential tropical system right behind it. Now is the time to make sure your hurricane plan, your hurricane kit are ready, your family, your business, your pets in particular are prepared, and to know what trusted source you'll be getting your information from. Of course, we're always recruiting for volunteers to respond to these types of disasters, and you can check redcross.org for more information. I thank you very much for this time and for your support through this disaster response.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everything you're doing in the community, and in particular Aventura, and in particular Biscayne Lakes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Any other business? Any commissioner have anything else? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Vice Mayor?
I would like to just congratulate one of our directors of finance who was married this past weekend. So congratulations to you. She has a very big smile on her face. And we also would like to wish one of our sergeants a speedy recovery.
Okay, thank you for that. If nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. I've got it from Commissioner Joel, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.